All right, so let's start. So this is the 7th edition, the most latest edition, which is being used all over the world. All right, so reference list. Some of the basic rules. So reference lists show up at the end of the standard APA paper. It lists the references you have used as citations in your paper. Most sources follow straightforward rules. Academic journal sources, however, are subject to special rules. Okay, so the basic rules, as I said, that these are the ones that you do need to kind of memorize or just keep in mind. So remembering the following sequence. So who, when, what, where. All APA references are listed this way with some minor exceptions. So exceptions depending on what type of source you are borrowing information from, whether it's a journal article, magazine article, newspaper article, whether it's an online article or printed, then a book, whether it's a printed book or an online book, then other sources. New sources have been included in the 7th edition, as I mentioned, like if you can borrow from YouTube or even Twitter, these things have been added, actually, the social media aspects. You can also borrow information from a song, an album, or all sorts of things. So the rules are slightly different based on the sources, and you will be using information depending on your research area. As I also mentioned that during this pandemic, you'll probably not go through printed, journal articles or books, anything. Everything will be online. So there's some basic rule for that. For online, you just have to provide the website address, actually. Okay, so author's name are inverted with the first and middle names written as initials. But this is for the reference list. So as I mentioned that there are two types of source documentation that you have to provide. One is the in-text citation, which is in the body of the text and is a short form of documenting sources. Another one is the reference list that you provide at the end of your writing, which provides more details. That is more complicated than the in-text citation. All right, so this one, there's some basic rules for reference list. So we'll discuss this first and then move on to in-text citation. Okay, so author's name are inverted with the first and middle names written as initials. So in the APA system, the last name of the author or authors is more important because that's what you have to mention at the beginning. And the first and middle name, if they have a middle name, only the initials are used. So for example, if the name is Mohammed Jafar Iqbal, should be written as Iqbal, comma, M.J. So you can see last name is Iqbal, that should be at the beginning, then comma, then initial of the middle, the first name and the middle name. Okay, so from here onwards, we'll use last name. Okay. FM for other author names. Okay. Okay. So is that clear, this one? So you have to keep in mind that the last name is more important. So for the reference list, when you provide the reference list, only the initials of first and middle name are used in addition to the last name. But when you provide the in-text citation, then only the last name is used and no initials are required for first and middle name. Okay. So let's see all these basic rules. Just scroll down a bit. It starts with a reference list, then moves on to the Okay, so in this booklet, actually, they've started with the reference list. In the 6th edition, they talked about the in-text citation first and then the reference list. Okay, anyway, so as I mentioned, the reference list requires more information. So let's go through these basic rules first and we'll see examples. All right, so that's the name. So is that clear about the names? How you should provide the names in the reference list?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So last name followed by initial of first and middle name. Some authors don't have a middle name, then you just provide the initial of the first name. All right, then up to including 20 authors' names are given for a particular work. Authors are separated from one another in the list with a comma and an ampersand. So ampersand is the small form of and that we use before the last author's name. So for example, okay. So what did they say? Up to including 20 author names are given for a particular work. All right. Authors are separated from one another in the list with a comma and an ampersand before the last author's name. So sometimes in some articles, 20 authors' name can be given, and we normally separate authors' names are separated from one another in the list with a comma and an ampersand. Okay. So in the reference list, when there's a lot of authors mentioned, you use the short form of and not, you don't write and, you have to use this one. So this is also a part of the rule. So as I mentioned in the last class that when we are talking about APA rules, every single symbol, like a comma or a dot, or you can say a full stop or a period, then semicolon, dash, then even this, how you're going to write and, all these are part of the rules. So which ones you're going to italicize, which one is going to be written plain, all these are part of the rules. So this form of and, the ampersand, this is also part of the rule as well. So in the reference list, you separate the name with a and when there are, so you use the ampersand and you don't write and. In the in-text citation, there are rules. In some cases, you will be using and when you are writing the author's name, when you provide the signal phrase. I think I mentioned that in the last class. There are different signal phrase verbs that you can use. Do you remember? Do you remember, everyone? Are you all here?
No, ma'am. Can I please repeat?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, in the last class I mentioned for in-text citation, there was 2 ways of, providing the author's name. One of them is using signal phrases, like you can say according to Smith and Jones, like if there's 2 authors or more, according to Smith and Jones. So when you write, or you can write Smith and Jones reported, or Smith and Jones explained, or asserted, these are signal phrases. So when you use signal phrases, then you use and. But you can also provide the source information directly after quotation or paraphrasing, and at the end in bracket, you can provide information. If you're providing the source information in the bracket, then you use the small form, the ampersand. So providing in-text citation, there are two ways of using this and. But for the reference list, if there's more than one author, always the small form, always use the ampersand. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving on. If there are more than 21 or more authors, use an ellipsis after the 19th author and then add the final author's name. All right, now this is a new rule actually added to the 7th edition, because you can see that 20 authors' name, if something has been written by 20 authors, you actually write the names of all of them, up to including 20 authors' name are given. For all of these names, you provide the last name, comma, followed by initial or first and middle name, if they have a middle name. And then before the last name, you use the ampersand. And then here it says, if there are more than 21 authors or more authors, use an ellipsis after the 19th author. So you write down 19 author's name and then ellipsis. You know what ellipsis is, everyone? Any idea?
No, ma'am.
Is the, the dot, the three dots. I think you're familiar with that, right? So
Oh, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
19 author's name, after that ellipsis, that is dot, and then add the final author's name. So say if there are 22 authors, you write the name of 19 of the author's name, that is last name, followed by initial of first and middle name, then dot, and then ampersand, this short form of and then the last author, like 22nd author's name. So this is a new rule, because in the previous rule, you didn't have to mention so many names. I think there were like 7 or 8, and then the ellipsis. But this is a new rule added, so that means you have to provide the names of at least 19 authors. So here you can see there are rules. If there's 20 authors, you write all their name. If there's more than 21 or more, then you write 19 authors' name, then ellipsis, then ampersand, and then the last author's name. So writing the author's name has become more important. I also mentioned that when you come up with an article, journal article, magazine article, anything, or book, anything, any source, the names have been arranged. Whatever form you find the names, you never change the order of the names. You have to keep it exactly like that when you are borrowing information from those sources. Never change the order of the name. It doesn't matter what alphabetical order they are, based on the last name of all the authors. You never change the order of the names. You have to keep it just the way they are, because as I mentioned, the first author's last name, then if there's second and third, they have more contribution in writing that article or whatever source. They have more contribution. That's why you never change the order of the names. Okay, then reference list entries should be alphabetized by the last name of the author of each work. So I also mentioned that in the last class, that when you provide the reference list, you must arrange them. The list must be arranged based on the the first author's last name, the letter, whatever letter it starts with. So you might have to alphabetize the list. So if you have like 10 authors, first author's name, if it starts with B, then you arrange that. Also, if there are like 2 or more authors' name, last name starts with B, then you look at the second letter. If it's whether it's a BA or if it's a B, K, you know, arrange it accordingly. So it has to be the list has to be alphabetized. Is that clear? You can,
Yes, miss.
if you have any book in front of you right now, and if you check the reference list, then you'll see that the names have been arranged based on the author's last name, first author's last name. So you can actually check that. Okay, so for multiple articles by the same author, list the entries in chronological order from the earliest to the most recent. Okay, in chronological order from the earliest. So say you have borrowed information from the same author and they have published, say, in 2001, 2002, 2003, then you just, you know, list them according to those dates. So they published something in 2001. The most recent one comes first, right? The list, the entries, the chronological order from the earliest to the most recent one. Okay. Right. I don't know whether there's examples here. Basic rules. Okay, so yeah, you can see that the examples are given here. Here, you know the rule that I was talking about? So 2 or more works by the same author. Can you all see? Now the first one, n.d. N.d. means that no date was given there. That's why n starts for no, d starts for date, n.d. Since no date was given, that's provided at the beginning. Then something was published in 2011, another one 2015. So you arrange it in this manner. Can you all see?
Yes, miss.
Yeah. So as the example that I was giving, like if someone published 3 articles, say one in 2001, 2002, 2003, then arrange it just like that. So here example is given. If no date is given, then this is what you must write in bracket, n.d. Okay, all right, so I think the other names, I'll just go through these lists because here the examples are given, right? So this is for academic journals. Yeah, I'll go through this list first. Basic rules for articles in academic journals. Academic journals follow slightly special rules. First of all, journal articles are presented in full and italicized. So you must capitalize all major words in the titles of journals. Finally, do not italicize, underline the article title. All right. So there's a rule for what you have to italicize and what you should not. Now, if it's the title of the article, you do not italicize that, but you do italicize the name of the journal where that article was published. Right. Let's see. Okay, I'll just go through these rules very quickly, then we'll move on to journal. Okay, so when referring to title of books, chapters, articles, reports, web pages, capitalize only the first letter of the first word of the title and subtitle. The first word after a colon or a dash in the title and proper names. Okay, so when you should use capital letters, that's mentioned here. And then title of longer works, for example, books, edited collections, newspapers, etc., are italicized. for longer works. Okay, do not italicize, underline, or put quotes around the title of shorter works such as chapters in books or essays in edited collection. If you are handwriting, underline the titles. Okay, so this is something you should know. Whatever is italicized in printed version, so what do you do when you handwrite? The rule is that you just underline that. So as I mentioned, for the journal articles, you don't italicize the name of the article itself, but you do italicize the name of the journal where that article was published. If it's a name of a book, then you italicize that. So when you handwrite, what do? You just underline it. Okay, hanging indent, all lines after the first line of each entry should be indented some ½ inch from the left margin. Okay, so this is another rule you have to keep in mind, that the first line, if when you're providing the reference list, you use like 3 lines, then the first one is not indented, but the following one, the second one and the third one will be indented from the left-hand side. You leave like 1/2 inch from the left margin. All right, so anyway, let's look at the examples now. So here, these are examples from journal articles, academic journals. These are important because academic journal articles are reliable, especially if the journal is a good journal, then the articles which have been published here are something reliable. Information that you borrow are something reliable. Okay, because these journal articles have been peer reviewed by reviewers. A lot of feedback had been given to the authors. They had to do corrections, and then the article was published. So that's why these journal articles are a very good source of information which you can borrow from. So that's why it's important. Online, you probably come across a lot of articles which are not exactly like peer reviewed. You can still borrow information from there. There are rules that apply. Anyway, so let's go through these rules. Okay, so this one is about the author. There are rules depending on how many authors. If it's a single author, 2 authors, more than 2, there are slightly different rules that you need to use. For a single author, you should actually remember these basic rules. Single author, you can see last name of the author is given and the initial of the first name. So basically there's no middle name here. Last name is Brown, then comma, E stands for the first name, initial of the first name, then dot. So in the reference list, there's a dot after initial, and then in bracket, year of publication is given, and then there's another dot. This dot is also termed as period, or you can just put a dot there. And then here, comedy and the feminine middle brow novel. Okay. So that's the name of the. What's this? Okay, this has to be a book. Right? Articles or not. This one looks like a novel or something. Pickering and Chatto, this is the name of the publication. Yeah. Well, this is italicized, so this probably is the name of the novel, Comedy and Feminine. So I don't know why they're kind of mixed up. Here it says journal articles in academic journals, but the first rule kind of looks like a book. Anyway, the thing is that this is what it stands for. This is what you should do when there's a single author. Very basic rule. Last name of the author followed by initial of the first name. If there's a middle name, then you provide the initial of the middle name as well. And then in bracket, year of publication, right? And then two authors. List by their last names and initials, separate author's name with a comma, use the ampersand instead of A and D. Okay, so you can see first author's name is Sato, then CJ is initial of first and middle name, comma, and then the ampersand, that's a short form of and is used, and the second author's last name and initial. And then directly after that, there's year of publication is given. And in this one, this is a journal article. That's a very long title. You can see the title of the article has not been italicized, but the journal name, the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, that's the name of the journal where this article was published, that you can see has been italicized, followed by, this is the volume number, 113 is the volume number, then in bracket, this one refers to issue number, then comma, and then page number is given. In the reference list, when you provide page for the journal articles or magazine, then the entire page range is given. It's not the page where you borrow information from, but it's the page of the entire article. So it starts from 117, 117, and ends 143. So that's the entire page range. And you can see for journal articles, no P is mentioned. If you borrow information from this source, then in the in-text citation, you have to provide P dot and then the page number. But in the reference list, the page number is the entire range. Okay, now here you can see at the end, the website address is given. So this journal article is actually an online journal. The website address is given. Okay, so basically the rule is for two authors. When there's two authors, you mention both the names and initial, and you separate them by the ampersand. Okay, now 3 to 20 authors. List by last names and initials, comma, separate authors' names, while the last author's name is preceded again by ampersand. Okay, here all the author's name is not given, but just to, there's only a few authors' name, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 to 20 authors. Okay, only like 5 authors' name is given, but it says 20 authors. That means you list all their names. And then the last author you separate by using the ampersand, the short form of and. All right, clear everyone?
Yes, Miss. Clear.
And then more than 20 authors, 19 authors' name, and then here's the ellipsis. Can you see the dot, dot, dot here? In this example, 3 dots. So 19 authors' name, last name followed by initial of first and middle name is given. Separate all their names with a comma. And then 19 authors, then dot, 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 the ellipsis, and then the last author's name is given. Okay, it says here, do not place an ampersand before it. So after ellipses, actually you're not using the and, just provide the last name. So altogether, basically, there's more than 20 authors, you are still providing 20 names. So Kim, comma H, that's the last author's name. So no and is required when there is 20 authors. When there's more than 20 authors, no and is required before the last author's name. Okay. Okay, so group author. Group author can include corporations, government agencies, organizations, etc. And the group may publish in coordination with individuals. So here you simply treat the publishing organization the same way you treat the author's name. So here you can see group author refers to, it's like a corporation, company can write something, or government agencies and organizations, simply just write the name. So Merriam-Webster, that's the organization or corporation, the name is given. So where you would write author's name, individual, or number of authors' name, you just provide the name of the corporation or organization, so and so. Then dot, followed by year of publication in bracket, and then the remaining information. Here there's another example when a work has multiple layers of group authorship. Okay, so Office of the Historian, which is a part of the Department of State's publishing something. So here you can say Bureau of International Organization Affairs. So basically the name is given there instead of individual author's name, and then followed by year of publication. Again, if the author is unknown, when the work does not have an author, move the title of the work to the beginning of the references and follow with the date of publication. Only use anonymous if the author is the work is signed as anonymous. Okay, so sometimes you may come up with articles or any source where the author's name is not given, it's not there. Sometimes the word anonymous may be given. If you find anonymous instead of any author's name, then write anonymous at the beginning, followed by year of publication. But if that is not given, then it says you move the title of the work to the beginning of the reference and then follow date of year of publication. So here, Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, that's the name of the article. So that has been moved forward, and that's the 11th edition. And then after that, year of publication is given. Because you'll find that when you come across all these, articles or references, it's not that you'll find them all in a systematic manner. Some information may be missing. So there are rules that apply. If some information is missing, then there are always other rules that you need to use. So basically, if the author's name is not given, as it says, you just move the name of the article forward, then provide the year of publication and then the remaining information. Okay, so this rule I already mentioned, 2 or more authors by the same author, arrange them based on the year of publication. When an author appears both as a sole author and in another citation as the first author of a group, list one author's entries first. Okay. Okay, so here you can see this author, Agnew CR, is the editor of this work. And then he also appears with another author in another work, Agnew CR and South SC. They're the editors of another work. And both these works have been published in 2014. So the idea is first list the author where he has worked in a single, if he has worked without anyone, on his or her own, then mention that first and then followed by the other work. Okay, so sole author, mention that first and then the other work where he has like co-authored or co-edited with someone else. Okay, the sole author's name first and then the other work. This is only case if both of the publications appear in the same year. Now, if, say, the second one, there are two authors here, like two editors basically, Agnew and South. If they had published this, say, earlier than 2014, so if it was like 2012 or 2013, then obviously this one would come first. Then the 2014 will come later. Okay, so references that have the same first author and different second or third authors are arranged alphabetically by the last name of the second author or the last name of the third if the first and second authors are the same. Okay. Okay, again, you can see in these examples that the first author is the same, but the second and third authors are different. So in that case, how do you arrange? So you arrange them based on the second author's name, alphabet, depending on the letter that the name starts with. So you can see the second author in the first list starts with C, and the second author in the second example starts with K. That's why the second author whose name starts with C comes first, and the one that starts with K comes later. Because you can see that the first author's name is exactly the same. So that means you need to alphabetize based on the second author's name, second author's last name. Okay, then two or more works by the same author in the same year. All right, so if you are using more than one reference by the same author published in the same year, first check to see if they have more specific dates. Works with only a year should be listed before those with a more specific date. So list specific dates chronologically. If two works have the same publication date, organize them in the reference list alphabetically by the title of the article or chapter. If references with the same date are identified as parts of the series, like part 1, part 2, list them in order of their place in the series. Then assign letters, suffixes to the year. Refer to these sources in your essay as they appear in your reference list. So you can see, so it depends. If there's part 1, part 2, of course you list them accordingly. This is in the case where you find that same author has published in the same year. So here you can see same author has published in the same year. So what do you do in that case? So here, the rules have been given, like a works with only a year should be listed before those for more specific date. List specific dates chronologically if two works have the same publication date. Okay. So list them according to the title of the article. That's one of the rules, and other one is if they have part 1, part 2, anything like that. So basically you just list them, like A and B and C, like that. So if this same author had published another work in 2004, then you just write 2004 C. So A, B, C, organize them like that. Clear, everyone?
Clear, miss.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here, sometimes we may borrow information from introductions, prefaces, forwards, afterwards. You know, usually you have like introductions, prefaces, forwards, and afterwards, especially if it's a book which has an editor's name. So, a book which has a single editor or more editors, then these books usually have an introduction section. You may have prefaces, things like that. And if you think that you want to borrow information from these parts, then basically you need to mention it. So you can see author's name is given, year of publication, then introduction, you write introduction. If it's a preface, you write preface, and then dot. And then you also have to write the editor's name in these cases. You can say in G. Dujardin. Okay, and okay, there are two editors' name given here. Three editors, basically. So J. Dujardin, then J. M. Lang, and J. A. Staton. Then in bracket, you have to write EDS, right? And then the name of the book is given here. All right, so now you may be asking, why is it that the initials of these names is first followed by last name? So there is a change of rule here. Whatever, you have to keep this in mind, whatever whatever names you provide, author's name or editor's name, if it is before year of publication, then the rule is you write the last name of the author followed by initial of first and middle name. Now, whatever names come after the year of publication, so in this case, you're writing the editor's name, you can see then the rule is that you provide the initial of the first and middle name first, followed by last name. So in this book, in this example, there are three editors. So you've taken information from the introduction section, then you provide the editor's name in, and then you can see initial of the first name followed by last name, three editors. Before the third editor, you write that you use ampersand, and you write their names, and then in bracket, you provide EDS. When it's editors, it has to be a capital E, D, and S stands for more than one editor. If there's a single editor, then a capital E, followed by D, then dot, then close bracket. There's a difference between editors and edition. So when you provide editor's name, it's a capital E, then D, and more than one editor, S, then dot. If you're writing edition, like first edition, second edition of a book, usually first edition, of course, you don't write it. If it's second edition, third edition, fourth edition, then it's a small e, d, dot. All right, so there's a difference, whether it's an editor or edition. I'm sure that we'll come across examples. Okay, so articles in periodicals. So the following contains a list of the most cited periodical sources. So this could be like magazines or newspapers. APA style dictates that authors are named with their last name followed by the initials. Then publication year goes between the parentheses followed by the period. Title of the article is in sentence case, meaning only the first word and proper names in the article are capitalized. Yeah, so these are like journal articles, magazine articles, so and so. When you write the title of these articles, then only the first name, the title of the article, the first word and proper nouns in the article are capitalized, and the rest is basically small letters. So the periodical title is run in this title case and is followed by volume number. Volume number will appear in journal articles and magazines as well, magazine articles as well. So volume number, which with the title is also italicized. Okay, so DOY has been assigned to the article. DOY is basically the digital object identifier, something like this. So sometimes the DOY number will be provided. If the DOY number is not given, then you actually write the whole, the URL address. What happened? Okay. Okay, so here, article in printed journal. This is the rule. Last name of the author followed by initial, then year of publication in bracket, then dot, then the ellipsis of listening. That's the, you can see the title of the article, only the first word, the, has been capitalized. The remaining is like in small letters. The new criterion, that's the name of the journal that has been italicized. Okay, then the volume number, issue number, and page range is given. So volume number is 15. Then in bracket, issue number, and then the page range is given. So this is a slightly changed rule from the 6th edition, because in the 6th edition, you would actually write VOL for volume. So here there's nothing like that. So 15, then in bracket, the issue number. So 15 is the volume number is 15, issue number is 3 in bracket, and then comma, then page range is given. So DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. If that number is given when you're looking at printed journals or online journals, you probably have that, or printed. If it's available, you provide that. Even when using the print source, the examples above assumes no DOI is given here. So in this example, the DOI number, there's no DOI number, so that's why it's not mentioned. But if you find DOI, there's a number given, then just write it down. So here, you can see in the first example, DOI, then organization, then some other numbers will be given. If it's given, then you need to write it down. Okay, article in electronic journal. So as noted above, when citing an article in an electronic journal, include DOI if one is associated with the article. Okay, so same rules apply, and then you just write the DOI number. Okay, and DOI is not always available. In this case, use the URL. So, you know, the website address at the end. So can you see after page range? So volume number, issue number, page range is given at the end, HTTPS, then ://www, and you know, this is the website address. Okay, in the previous rules, you probably have to write retrieved from, but here in the 7th edition, you don't have to write retrieved from, you just provide the website address. So if it's an online journal article, magazine, please do provide the website address, either the DOI number. If the DOI number is not there, you can see in this example here, HTTPS : / and then DOI.organization, and this is the number given. If the DOI number is not given, then provide the URL address, it's a website address. Clear, everyone? So you have to provide that when you're borrowing information from an online journal article or magazine. So magazine has the same rule that applies, you can see. Article in a magazine, same rules actually. Same as the journal article. Okay, now it says that you may come across articles without authors' names frequently in magazine and newspaper articles. In such cases, start with the title of the article, skipping the author's name completely because the author's name is not there. So what do? You have to, then you just start with the title of the article. So you bring it forward. After that, you provide the year of publication. Now, for magazines and newspapers, this one is probably a newspaper or magazine. The after the year of publication, the month is also mentioned. But for journal articles, you do not have to mention the month at all. But for newspaper and magazine articles, you provide the year of publication followed by month in bracket. Then dot, and this is the name of the magazine. This is the main magazine, and then volume number, issue number, page range is given. For magazine article, volume number, issue number will be given. Sometimes the issue number may not be there. If there's no issue number, then there's nothing to write. You provide the volume number, then page range. Okay. For newspaper article, the page range might not be given like this. You might find column number is given. Then you provide that. Okay, article in a newspaper. Here, yeah. So this is article in a newspaper exam. If you don't know the name of the author's name, you will skip it, starting instead with the title. Okay, so 2 examples given here. First one, the author's name is there. Last name followed by initial, then year of publication, and then the month is given for newspaper. And the name of the article, calls made to strengthen state energy policies. Name of the newspaper, the Country Today. And 1A, this one is actually the column number. So provide that. So newspapers, you won't get page ranges like in journal articles or magazines, but you'll get column numbers and provide that. The second example, the author's name is not given, so you just start with the name of the article, followed by year of publication and month, and then name of the newspaper and column number. Okay, so the next one is a review. Again, as I'm going through all these examples, and you can see that APA can be pretty boring, it's not something really interesting to go through, but please remember that it is something very, very important. That's why it's very important that you go through the rules. So I won't be able to complete everything. There are many, many rules you can see. I want you to go through it in your spare time because the rules are given here and examples are given here. I'm sure that you can understand. Okay, so here this is the example of a review. Same rules. Review means that, when something has been written and some other author, the writer, has reviewed that work. So if it's a journal article, it can be a book review, it can be an article review, it can be a movie, reviewing a movie, anything. So here are the rules. Here what you do. Say basically, author's name is given, the reviewer's name, you have to write their name. Okay, so here the reviewers, this is the name, the rule here. Reviewer's last name followed by initial, then year of publication, title of the review, because the review will also have a title. Then in square bracket, you must write review of what? What is it? Is it a review of a journal article, magazine article, review of a book? Is it a review of a movie? You must mention that, name the review of, media title, and then that book or journal article, anything that must have an author as well. So you have to write that author's name as well. Author's initial followed by last name. Then the title of the publication. That means where did that review, where was that review published? And then volume number, issue number, pages. Okay, so here's the example. So here's the last name, Bumister RF. That's the reviewer's name. Then this year of publication is when the review was published. The title of the review is Exposing the Self-Knowledge Myth. That's the name of the review. Then in square bracket, this is a review of the book, The Self-Knower, a Hero Under the Control. So basically, Bhumishta reviewed this book. So in square bracket, you write review of what? Review of, this is a book. And this book was definitely written by someone else. So by, then the author's name. There are two authors' names. And as I mentioned, that whatever names come after the year of publication, the names are in reverse order. That is the initials of first and middle name first, followed by last name. And the ampersand is used. For reference list, always the ampersand is used, not A and D at all. And then you close after the name, close the square bracket, and then write the, maybe it was the article, the journal, or where the review was published. It was a newspaper, whatever. So this is probably a, it says Contemporary Psychology. It could be a magazine, name of a magazine where the review was published, volume number, issue number, and page range is given. Okay, you may also come across reviews posted on websites. So here's the example given. So, you know, the same rules with a website, the reviewer's name, last name followed by initial, then the year of publication. So it's a website, probably was a magazine, month is given, or probably was an online newspaper. You know, reviews are published in magazines and newspapers. So for newspapers, even the date is given, December 31st. So Are You My Brother? That is the name of the review. Review of the book. Okay, so you can see, you know, the book, can you see that it has been italicized in this example and the example above? Because this is the title of the book, original book. So you have to italicize the title of the book or title of a magazine or a journal. These have to be italicized. That is when you type it. And when you handwrite it, then you need to underline these things. Okay, so followed name of the book, then the author's name is given. Okay. Author's name is given, close the square bracket, and then the New York Times books review. So basically it's an online newspaper. And then the website address is given because the URL address is given because it's an online newspaper. Okay, so here are some examples of, you may also find references, reviews of like films or videos. So here the same rule applies, but you just have to write what is the review of. So reviewer's name followed by your publication, then title of the review, then in square bracket, review of whatever it's a name. So here's an example, like this one is review of the film Babel by this person. So that's the director's name. You can see DIR stands for director. The film has a director. So AG Inaritu, that's the director's name. DIR stands for director in short. Then dot follows, close the square bracket. Then this review was published in this magazine, Time. Yeah, volume number, issue number, page number. So review, the page number, you can see this is only in one page. So there's no page range, just one page. Okay, so those are examples of journal articles, magazine articles, books. When it comes to books printed online, there's a slightly different rule. because when it comes to books, you have to provide publisher's name. So author's name followed by year of publication, title of the book. Title of books are always italicized. Capital letters also for subtitle. Okay, and then publisher's name. Okay, that means where it was, what is the name of the publisher? For example, here there's a Stoneman R, 2008, Alexander the Great, A Life in Legend. So that's the title. It has been italicized. Then Yale University Press. Okay, so here the rule has been simplified from the 6th edition, because in the 6th edition you also have to provide place of publication, then the publisher's name. So in the 7th edition is more simpler. Place of publication is not mentioned anymore. Only the publisher's name is mentioned. So I think that the place of publication is omitted now, because nowadays, you know, the publishers can be in different places. So like Cambridge University Press, there's a publisher in the UK, US, even in India. So that's why then the place of publication is not required, but the name of the publisher is required. Okay. Okay, just I'm going to go through like 1 or 2 more rules, like edited work, no author. If the author's name is not given, but the editor's name is given, then provide the editor's name first, followed by year of publication, title of the work, capital letters also for subtitle, then publisher. So here, Lich, MG, and Rusten, CJ, these are editors. And then year of publication, then a new companion to Morley, D.S. Brewer. Okay. So D.S. Brewer, that must be the publisher's name. Okay, so here edited book with an author's name. So in this case, the author's name first, year of publication, title of the work. Then after the title of the work, provide the editor's name and then the publisher. So here's an example. Morley T, that's the author's name, year of publication. Then the name of the work. Okay, this is probably in French. I don't know the pronunciation, but anyways, it's in italicized. Then in bracket, the editor's name is given. There's a single editor. So you can see, since the name comes after the year of publication, reverse order, initial, followed by last name, then comma, write ED, dot, one editor. If there were more than one editor, then you write EDS. The single editor, ED, capital E, D, and dot. Okay. And then the publisher is given D.S. Brewer. Right. This one, another date is given. Original work published. Okay, I'll just go through one more rule. This is the translation work. So it's a translation. Again, the same rules, the author's name, year of publication, title of the work, capital letter also for subtitle, then the name of the translator, then you write trans, because that stands for the name of the translator, then publisher, and then original work published here. So here's an example. So the author's name of the work, year of publication. This is the year when the translation came out. The year of publication is the year of the translation. The name of the work, and then in bracket write the translator's name. and then you write trans, and then dot, close the bracket, and then the publisher's name, HarperCollins, and then original work published in 2014. So original work is 2014, and 2015 is when the translation came out. Okay, so that's the rule. All right, so time is up for today. So can you all go through the remaining rules and check the examples? Can you all do that?
Yes, Miss.
So in the next class, we will continue with a few more rules from the reference list, and then we're going to move on to the in-text citation rules. All right?
Ma'am,
Yes.
at 10 o'clock, I'll go to Google Classroom, right?
Sorry, can you repeat?
At 10 o'clock tonight, I'll go to Google Classroom to attend the quiz.
Yes, I'll give you a notification. All right?
Would you like to write my ID number or name?
No, I find your name.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Name is, or you can just, give me a reminder around 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock by mail?
You can write, you can email me, it's fine.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who have missed the quiz one?
Miss, I missed the quiz too, Miss.
Quiz one. First, I
No.
took assignment on essay. Then last week I took quiz one on claim identification. Did anyone else miss that quiz?
Miss, I missed that.
Okay. So do you think you can all sit for it tonight at 10?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, so all of you who have missed this quiz one, then please just email me around 9 o'clock. Is that okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Miss,
Okay, so
Miss, did you take the attendance already?
no, I'm going to call now, right now.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so those who have missed quiz one last week, then just please email me around 9 o'clock, and then I'll give you the question at 10. I'll give you half an hour to submit.
Ma'am, did you get my 2 email before that?
I probably checked, and then, because as I mentioned that these are like, taken during class time. So if you do miss one quiz, it's still okay. I'll be taking 3 more other quizzes. But anyway,
Okay.
if you want to give it, as I said, you can give it today. Okay, everyone, please respond to your name quickly. Khandakar Akhtar Hamid.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Anik Bishas Joy.
Yes, ma'am.
Marufa Jaman.
Present, Miss.
Lovely Khatun. Lovely Khatun. Faria Kadir.
Miss.
Present, Miss.
Lovely
Fariha
Khatun,
Qadir,
present.
present.
Okay, Faria. Lovely Khatun present.
Present.
Ahmed Ashraful Haq. Zubair Ahmed.
Present, Miss.
Abu Bakr Siddiq.
Present, Miss.
Mithila Farjana.
Present, Miss.
Abdul Qayyum.
Present, Miss.
Tanaf Asif Jaman.
Present, ma'am.
Shabab Farooq. Shabab Farooq. Rafi
Present,
Rizwan.
Miss. Sorry, sir.
Yes, miss.
Shabab.
How about for
Okay.
you?
Okay, and Rafi Rizwan also present. Ibn Sina Bhuya.
Present, ma'am.
Taslima Jahan.
Present, ma'am.
Ali Yusuf Alvi.
Present, ma'am.
Abdul Muhaimin.
Present, please.
Rabsa Ryan. Abdullah Al Masud.
Present,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Abdullah present.
Okay, and Abdullah present. Ahmed Zubair.
Present, ma'am.
Jannatul Ferdowsi,
Present, ma'am.
Mugdhamani,
Present, ma'am.
Navid Naim, Protasha Mahmood,
ম্যাম চ্যাটে প্রেজেন্ট দিয়েছে নাভিদ নাইম।
Present, ma'am.
okay. Then Mohammed Ridanul Haq,
Yes, ma'am.
Sharaf Anjum,
Present, ma'am.
okay. Nasif Ali,
Present, ma'am.
Kaji Sadi Ahmed,
Yes, ma'am.
Jarin Anjum,
Present, miss.
okay. Faizan Mohammad Rahman,
Present, ma'am.
Sumaya Shahid,
Present.
then Mohammed Samin Ibn Amin,
Present, miss.
Mohammed Farhan Ahmed,
Present, ma'am.
Maruf Mahmood,
প্রেজেন্ট ম্যাম।
Samrin Alam,
Present, miss.
Saad bin Rahman,
Present, miss.
Tehsina Haq,
Present, miss.
Mohammed Mohaiminur Rasul,
Present, miss.
then Said Omar Mahmood.
Navid Naim.
It's just okay, I think Mohammed
No, ma'am.
Ashraful Haq. Ashraful Haq is present, absent. Okay, everyone else is present.
Ma'am, SK Navid Naim.
Yeah, I've given present for everyone. Only one absent, that is Mohammed Ashraful Haq. And everyone
Thank you, ma'am.
present. Okay. Okay, so thank you everyone. We'll have class on Tuesday. We'll continue with AQA. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care. Assalamu
Thank you.
alaikum.
Welcome, sir.
কি রে তুই হোল ক্লাসে ছিলি না? একটু দূর তো